Hello, gorgeous. It is Priestess LaMeel here, and I am going to do a second version. This is for all of you beautiful people on YouTube that are not in my Facebook group as of yet. I've been getting a lot of requests and questions about setting energetic minimums from a video I did a little while ago. So this is the video on how to set energetic minimums. Now, every one of my courses, we go into how to set energetic minimums, right? Regardless of what it is, whether it's financial, whether it is relationships, whether it is sex, whether it is communication, whatever, different types of relationships. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to do this. And again, we go way deeper in my courses, but it is important to set energetic minimums because we may want something, right? So a lot of people, I want more money, right? So I want to make, $20,000 a month, or I want to make $60,000 a year, or whatever it is. And we want that, and we really, really want that. But we have this energetic minimum that is only allowing us to make 20 grand a year. How do you move out of that? Because it is energy. It's not the job, it's not the people, it's not the lack of education, it's not any of that. It is what your energetic minimum is. Like I want to do 6 grand a month, but I always only bring in like 25, right? Why is that? It's because that's your energetic minimum. Like an energetic minimum is no matter what, I'm going to have this, right? So if you know people that like their whole lives could fall apart, but their rent is always paid. Their utilities may always be off, but their rent is always paid. And then some people who always have all of their bills paid, everything is always taken care of, and they just can't do anything else. They don't have any money for anything other than the bills. That's because that's their energetic minimum. Even if more money comes in, something happens and all that money goes out. Why? Because their energetic minimum says you can't have more than this. Your energetic minimum says that people treat you like this. Even if they come in at a higher vibration, they will calibrate to your energetic minimum. And so you end up in these great relationships and you're like, oh, it's changing. But your energetic minimum for a relationship is that people treat you like this. And eventually circumstances will occur that will allow them to meet you at your energetic minimum. So the concept here is that we want to change. Like your energetic minimum. So regardless of what the situation is, you're going to use the same process. I'm sorry, I'm looking around because I'm in a hotel room right now and my cat has used a litter box and I'm going to have to order some Febreze. So, regardless of the subject, right? Because if you watch the previous video, it says you need to have energetic minimums in all over your life, right? In every category, in everything. You can have energetic minimums for your job. Like, some days are good and bad, right? But they're never worse than this. Like this is it. It's got to be this or better. Even at work, right? A job, or they have to pay me this or better. That this is your energetic minimum. So, regardless of the situation, you use the same process. So, step 1 for setting energetic minimums, and I'm going to use the example for money, is what are your stories around money? What do you think right now you can have? How much money do you feel like you can have? And what stories dictate that? So I'll give you an example. I was a little girl. I went home to California to visit, and my aunt took me and my little cousin to work with her, right? And she was his mother, is his mother. And we worked, and she paid us equally. Later that day or the next day, I was counting my money, and I had more money than he did, my cousin. So immediately, he's like, Mom, she has more money than me. And my aunt was very, very appalled. And she yelled at me, like, where did you get that money from? How did you end up with more money from him? And I was so startled, I didn't answer immediately. And she was like, that's not right. And opens her purse and gave him money that exceeded what I had. So once I got myself together, the reality was I had visited my father. My father had given me money. My mother had also given me money for this trip. So, I had more money than him. But immediately the story, right? The message that was for sale that I bought at 12 or 15 or whatever was that how dare I have more money than my cousin or any man, because really the message was, I really just wasn't smart enough. I wasn't capable and I wasn't worthy to have more than the next person. That was the story that stuck with me for a long time. So when I was trying to create new energetic minimums, the reason that it was so hard, the reason why I could figure out how to live on very little money was because how dare I have more money than the next person? Who was I to warrant more money than the next person? Right? My dad's philosophy was, live within your means, want within your means. You really shouldn't be wanting stuff that is not attainable for you in this moment. His thing is, if you ended up with some more money and then you wanted something else that was attainable, that was okay. But you can't be here wanting this. You're damaging yourself, right? It was my dad. Okay, so I had these stories. So when you say, well, what are the stories? You identify the stories. And the truth was, that was his truth. And someone else's truth, someone else's reality, someone else's experience doesn't have to be yours. So I had to look and say, okay, these are my money stories. These are the experiences that I've had. And are they ultimately true? Right? That's the question. Are these stories ultimately true? So those were examples of money, examples of maybe relationships, right? Relationships always start off great, and inevitably men start to cheat, or women steal from me, right? These are stories, and it doesn't, for this work, you don't have to know where the story came from. I was just able to identify from other work, right? So you don't need that, but you need to know, what are your stories? What do you feel around money? What are your experiences around money? What are you saying? Like, women who go, it's hard to find a good man, and then all your friends are like, yeah, girl, that's a story. So in your mind, the story and the minimum is you have to work really, really hard to find a good man if you find one, right? So those are the stories, and those are the things that you want to list, and you want to list them in as much detail as you can. Once you have these ideas listed, these memories, notice what they taught you about yourself, right? So from my takeaway from my experience with my aunt was, how dare I have more money? From my dad, it was like, how dare you want more than you have? And the reason you're looking at these stories is because you want to release them and you want to reframe them. Men treat me terribly. Men are never there. I can't depend on women. I don't trust women. That's a really big one for men. So the idea and the reason that we're looking at this is to reframe them. Hold on just a second. Okay, great. So, so we're looking at them because we want to reframe them. We want to see what the lesson is that we got from that experience, and then we want to reframe it. So reframing looks like choosing something different, right? So how do you choose something different? So I've given you 2 examples of my stories. So I look at the message that I got from my aunt. And the message was, who was I? How dare I think that it was okay for me to have something else or something more than someone else? Excuse me. So now I am going to choose to see this situation through the eyes of love, right? And if you have taken my Spiritually Aligned course, there's like a whole module on seeing things through the eyes of love. So I'm going to choose to see it through the eyes of love. And I'm going to shift this idea of not being able to have more than the next person or someone close to me or a family member into something that's going to serve me. So I looked at this and I asked, is this message ultimately true? Like, is this really true? Is it true for me? No, it's not true for me. So I'm going to ask universe, please help me shift my perspective. If you are dealing with God, if you call them angels, source energy, whatever it is, it's like you need to share with the universe. You need to share with source or God or whoever that helps you, that supports you, right? I'm willing to see this differently. Help me shift my perspective. Is this true, right? Chances are it's not true, right? My aunt sending me a message that I didn't deserve to have more money than someone else was not true. So then I ask, please help me see this differently. I'm willing. I'm opening myself up. I am surrendering to all possibilities. Help me see this differently, because clearly I've carried this for years and 40 years, you know what I'm saying, of feeling like it was not okay for me to have more than a family member or people that were close to me, especially men, right? And what is possible? So then I ask, okay, help me see this different. It's not true. What is possible? It's possible for me to have as much money as I want. It's really not relative to anybody else, but it is possible for me to have all the money that I desire. That's true. And then you're going to go through that memory and to write a story that feels good, right? So the story that felt good to me when I was doing this work was simply that it's okay for other people to have more money than me, and it's okay for me to have more money than other people. Whether they're men or women, I get to decide. I get to have whatever I want. I get to have whatever I can align with. It is okay for me to have everything that I want. Okay, so now let's shift to the story about my dad, right? That I got from my dad. Is it ultimately true that I should not want more than what I have right now? No, it's not. It's not true at all. Like, that's how people expand. You expand out of the desire to have more. We're here to grow. You can't expand without becoming more. So fuck no. There's no truth in that. That is not true. It is not the ultimate truth. Is it ultimately true that all men cheat? No. I mean, clearly a lot of them do, according to the news and the social media and all that kind of stuff. But it's not true. Is it true that all women can't be trusted? Fuck no. That's not true. It's not true. So now I'm willing to see this differently. So I'm surrendering to source and asking, please guide me, help me see this differently. I'm willing to do whatever work is put in front of me so that I can see this differently, right? So then I write a new story. My desires for more than what I have and more than I have the means to obtain right now allow me to grow. They allow me to expand. They challenge me. They push me in a beautiful, expansive ways. You see that? So now that's not true. And I can let that go, right? So now I've let it go. I've wrote a new story and I've reframed that situation. So when you are setting energetic minimums, you start with your subject. You look at the stories that you currently have around that subject for the purpose of releasing and reframing. And then you ask your higher self, source, universe, God, for the assistance, right? You sort of surrender into the knowing that you want to change this. You want to see this differently. You are really letting it go. That is your releasing process, okay? And then when you tell a new story, you are reframing it. And you are opening it up yourself for positive for a more positive version of that, something that does serve you in that respect. So now, what do? You've got these new stories, you've released, you've reframed, and so where do you go from here? There are multiple steps that you can take, but I'm just going to talk to you about the energetic minimum, right? That portion of it, because now you get to decide in this area of my life, like finances, what is the lowest possible thing that you can imagine having in that area. So maybe in a relationship, it's that no matter what, I know I can trust my partner. No matter what happens, I can always trust my partner. That's the minimum that you are willing to accept. If I need, no matter what, I am not willing to accept less than $6,000 a month or whatever it is, that becomes your energetic minimum. And you can practice raising this over time. But right now, decide what is not where you are, but now that you see that these other things that you've been carrying are not truths, right? What is the minimum that you are willing to accept financially, in relationships, romantically, parenting, as a child, in a parenting scenario, as a parent with children, at work, from coworkers, from your lifestyle? What are your minimums? What is the lowest possible standard that you can imagine living with? These are now your energetic minimums. And what you need to do is spend time. If you are familiar with Silva method and there's centering, if not, you can look it up on YouTube. They teach the centering, Silva method centering technique, right? Get into that alpha wave centering and imagine living life at those minimums. Imagine living life at those minimums that you've created. All of this is stuff that you do have to journal, but imagine living life at that point. From that minimum. You can also journal on what does it feel like? What does it feel like? And only use those words that describe the feelings. If you feel resistance, you're going to want to journal on what other limiting beliefs are coming up for you at that time so that you can shift through it. So now that you have, right, these energetic minimums, you know what it feels like. You are doing the visualization on these things from a alpha brainwave point of view. You will start to see the opportunities and the different things that come into your life that meet that, right? You are also going to see things that show up that represent your old minimums. And when you notice that, the idea is not to get upset. The idea is to be ecstatic. Why? Because before you wouldn't have noticed it, you just would have went with it. The reason that you're noticing it is because your minimums have raised, right? But now you have to shift, and it's not a permanent. What you're doing is not permanent. Brushing your teeth is not permanent. Alignment is not permanent. High vibe energy is not permanent, right? So you have to see it and then choose the other. You have to shift. Every day has to be a shifting. Sometimes every hour you are shifting, depending on what your situation is, depending on what your what area of your life you are setting energetic minimums in. If you are setting energetic minimums for relationships and you're in a relationship, right, you may end up shifting yourself out of that relationship if that person is not willing to meet your new minimums. And you need to be prepared for that because you met them with one standard. And if they're not willing to do the growth work with you, then they will be shifted out of your reality and someone who is willing to do that work will show up. Jobs. Some people will start doing this work and lose their job. Why? Because how they want to be treated at work, what they expect from a work environment, what they expect from coworkers, what they expect financially in exchange for the energy that they put into this job will shift and they'll lose their job. But that means that it no longer meets your minimums and something that does is coming. Okay? So don't think, oh my God, I was doing this and then this happened and then he broke up with me and then they fired me and then that's part of the process. Family members may stop talking to you. It's temporary. It's temporary because if they love you, they're going to come back into your life and they may come back into your life in a different way, right? People who don't have boundaries, people who benefit from you not having boundaries, people who benefit from you having low standards, people who benefit from you having low energetic minimums will be disturbed when that changes because they will then no longer be benefiting. Understand that. Doesn't mean that they don't love you. Doesn't mean that they're out to get you. It doesn't mean anything other than I'm benefiting. I don't want this to change. They may talk shit to you. They may tell you this is stupid. Why are you even doing this? You see what I'm saying? Because their benefit is being affected, not because you're not on the right path. So you need to be prepared for that too. And when you are met with that, you need to shift back into your energetic minimums. So, when someone is coming at you with a lot of negativity because you're changing, that's when you remind yourself, I'm shifting because I'm worthy. I'm shifting because I deserve this. I'm shifting because I am wanting to build a legacy for my family. I'm shifting because my children deserve better. I'm shifting because I'm shifting. And if you have affirmations or don't, I do recommend that you write affirmations that help you maintain the vibration of your new energetic minimums so that when you have those situations, like I record my affirmations so I can listen to them even when I'm like too blah to actually be saying them myself. I can hear myself saying them and then I'll get back into the rhythm, right? It's a rhythm. It's an energetic rhythm and you're changing your energetic rhythm. and how you move and how you think and how you feel and how you act and how you present yourself changes when your rhythm changes, right? So be prepared. Like the smell, some of y'all who are in my programs know how I am about smell. When smells start being off when we're in the office or something like that. So yeah, the smell is not hot in here. So I'm gonna go take care of that and find this cat and see what's happened. But that is the process, right? And you can go, like I said, we go a lot deeper in my courses, but that's the process. You know, you do really need to be doing some level of worthiness work when you are shifting energetic minimums, because you need to know that you are worthy of the new minimum. So mirror work, shadow work, law of attraction are what I recommend the most is alignment work, right? And you can find that in Alignment Boss. And that name of our group coaching program, which has been Alignment Boss for years, is going to be changing to Sacred Alignment. But it's still the same thing. It teaches you how to shift back into alignment. Notice you're out and shift back into alignment with what it is that you want. And in this case, it is the shifting and the changing of your energetic minimums. You have to learn to do that because it happens. You know what I'm saying? And if you have bad habits, you have to shift into the newer habits. And so that program every month gives you, 2 or 3 different techniques to help you shift, right? Shift back into alignment with what you want. So I hope that this helped you. I hope that you found some value in this. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. I do plan on going back to my regular YouTube schedule right around Thanksgiving time this year. And so if you have any suggestions, have any questions, be sure to leave them down below. If you are new here, thanks so much for stopping by and sticking through to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you do know when I have uploaded new videos. I love you guys. I'm so blessed that you took the time to stay with me, and I will see you in our next video.